the first thing I do when we get to farmer's market is set up my canopy. If you're by yourself, it's helpful to make friends with the vendors on either side of you so you can have someone help you. It's a little difficult with just one person. All right, now at this point, I don't set up the canopy all the way so that I can easily put my signs on without needing a chair or ladder. I keep my bungees, chains, all that sort of thing in my bin. Bungees and... Okay. Keep the sign rolled up, not folded. When it's folded, it gets kinks in it that are really hard to get out. Alright, so the sign you need to secure in the corners with your clips. Sometimes you need to fiddle with it a little bit to make sure that it's nice and tight and flat and not sagging. 2 on each side and 2 in the middle work best. Okay, the next step is going to be your price board. You'll either have chains and S-hooks or bungees. And it's going to go in the middle rail underneath the canopy. I adjust the lengths of the bungees so that the sign hangs even because the rails are slanted. You kind of have to fiddle with it a little bit to make sure your sign is straight. And at this point, you're ready to raise your canopy. Unless you have any other signs that you need to put on your canopy for your specific farmer's market, I would put all of those on now. But if you're done with that, then raise it up. Now that the canopy is up at the height that I want it, I'm going to set up my table. When setting up your table, you want to make sure that you're positioning it in line with your sign so that the sign is at the rear of the table, not in front, because you're going to be putting promotional materials kind of in front of the sign on the table. So next is going to be your tablecloth. And this might sound stupid, but it's kind of hard to make sure it's straight, and it looks bad if you put on a crooked tablecloth. So pay attention to make sure you have it nice and even on the ground. Okay, the tablecloth is nice and even with the ground in the front, so then it will cover up anything you have under your table or your feet. It just looks nicer to have a nice flat tablecloth all the way to the ground on the front of your table. Okay, next is going to be the big wooden display board. And that's going to go in the corner of your table under your magnetic pricing. Make sure that you set up your signboard so that it's nice and stable, secured, and that it's far back enough that you have a nice amount of table space in the front. Okay, next I have my sample bucket that's going to go on the right side of the table. Okay, then we have our frame price board that can go in front of the sample bucket. Then I clip my market bags onto the back of my sample bucket. Okay, next I'm going to stop the wooden display board with brochures and put out my business cards. Okay, I keep the majority of my small supplies in a binder. So in my binder, I have my magnets in a zip pouch, the little magnets so they stay nice and flat and don't get smashed up, as well as customer complaint forms, 3 punched hold, my customer service guide, that sort of thing. Okay, so when you're setting up your brochures and promotional information, the ones that are on thinner paper, you want to make sure you secure those with a magnet because they will flop around. The ones that are on cardstock, you don't need to worry about so much. Unless it is winter, then you might need to use magnets on everything. I do not put out all promotional material every week. That way customers are looking to see if I have something new going on. We had a kefir promotion going, so I made sure to have extra kefir recipe cards out for that month. But I do change it up. It's spring, so I'm making sure to have the Eco Visit cards out right now because everyone's asking about tours and we're doing them right now, so I'm making sure to have a lot of those ready. Then we have our decorative fun magnets. These you can adjust depending on what size your brochures are and which ones you have out. You might not have room for all of them, depending on if you have all large sheets going on up here. But they're fun. They're not really meant to hold anything down, just to make it more interesting to look at. I like to put the Like Us, Follow Us sign on the front of my canopy these strong magnets work really well at holding things. I've put other brochures on here too with them. It works really. Okay, so then you can display your business cards where you like. I usually put them over here in the corner just because it's a small space and it's easier for people to grab as they're walking by. And I always put out the laminated book in the front. I get asked a lot of questions about the variety of cows on our farm, and I can never remember them all, so I tend to keep that page up, and it looks cute with the cows. Instead of the cover, it seems to be the most popular page, so I keep that up. Then I have the laminated product sheet that shows everything nice and clear. That's going to go right in front, so customers can see that as soon as they walk. Okay, you want to put your sample cups up so they're easily accessible. I like to keep mine in a bag so that they don't get dust and just dirt on them from being in the bin. A nice stack of those up next to your sample bucket. Then your calculator, your money box, and or your apron. The apron is nice to have extra pockets if you just want to put notes in there, or if you have your business cards, a pen, that sort of thing. That's great. So the great thing about this nice wooden display is that it hides everything behind it that doesn't need to be out in plain sight. So your cash box is secure behind it. If you have a cup of water, that sort of thing, you can keep it back here. It's just great for that. And then you can keep your bin of supplies under your table. Then everything looks nice and neat. Things are out of sight that don't need to be seen, and everything's really accessible. Okay, you can keep your trash bin in front of your price board by the sample bucket. I just store the lid under the table, then it's not seen. Don't forget to bring a trash bag liner for your trash can. And then it's very nice to have a chair along. So it's always good to set up your butter and cheese in front if you can, if it's not too hot out. Impulse buying happens, especially in farmers markets. So butter, they see it out, they want to try it, they can grab it. I like to make sure I have each variety and in each size. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about your paperwork. I like to give myself plenty of time at the beginning of market before it started to begin my paperwork. You have, this is your main sheet that you're going to need here. It's front and back. You're going to put in your stage product. So do a count, make sure all your numbers are right of what you're starting with, and write that down. You can fill out this whole first column before market starts. Then when your market is over, you can count your ending product, what you have left, and that's going to go in the ending column. During market, you can keep track of any discounts you give to vendors or customer discounts, trades, that sort of thing. There's a space for all of those. I tend to tally more than count just because numbers change. And then your samples. And then make sure to note any exchanges that have been made as well, as fill in the customer complaint forms if necessary for that. Your farmer's market, each specific one is going to have different requirements. They're all pretty much going to have some sort of paperwork that you need to do. It's important to find that out. Ask vendors around you, find out from your market manager. And this is good to do at the beginning of market as well. Leaving everything towards the end just makes market drag on and you're tired. It's just better to start it when you first get there. Okay, after market, you're going to do your cash count. Make sure you take out your starting petty cash first and then count what you have left over. Sometimes my forms get very messy, and so it's always good to have an extra one in case you want to redo it so it looks nice to send into the office. Yeah, so anyways, pretty straightforward. Your cash, your coins, your credit card, and then your checks. Make sure to note how many checks you're sending back, and your stall fee, and that will vary depending on your farmer's market. For your total market, you're going to add up cash and coin, credit cards, checks, food stamps, and stall fee. All of that is totaled up to get your total market. So in the notes section, anything that accounting should know, you should write in there. So if you had to buy ice, write that in there. If your helper didn't show up that week, you can write that note in there so they know for payroll. Any product that you've taken, make note of that here as well. Make sure when noting discounts that you're writing the price, the discount price, not just $1 off, write the ending price that it was sold. Submitting your paperwork, you're going to have receipts and that sort of thing to include with it. You just need to staple it or paper clip it together. You don't need to use separate envelopes, that sort of thing. Just keep it simple. If you need staples, paper clips, that sort of thing, just ask. Here's our post-market checklist. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to mark the condition of each of the items and check off that you have it. Here I've noted that my cash box was broken in poor condition. So you can see that Keely's noted that I need a cash box and signed it, so she made sure that she remembered to get one to me. Feedback is always good. I always try to include something in the notes. Like this one over here was a slow day. The weather was dreary, so I wrote that in here. We did a kefir promotion. It was a hit. I wanted them to know that was going well. Just any little notes like that. It's good to keep communication going with the dairy. Again, you do not need to submit each paper in an envelope, that sort of thing. You can just paper clip them all together, staple them. They can sort them out when they come into the office. If you're needing any extra supplies or have questions, you can always ask your manager or include it on your post-market checklist. Anything for the farmers market setup, canopies, promotional materials, that sort of thing, ask your manager. If you need any cash, anything that has to do with accounting, that can be referred to the accounting office. Again though, include the manager in that communication. If you have any issues with your vehicle, that sort of thing, you can ask operations for help. And if you don't know who to ask, always go to your manager first. We want to keep our farmers market booths looking nice and neat and organized. Make sure when you're taking down your booth and putting things away that you're wiping down anything that needs to be wiped down so it looks clean for the next market, that your promotional materials, you're keeping them nice and flat and stacked up and putting them away in your hub where they should be at the end of market so that everything lasts and looks its best.